It is a pleasure to introduce you our first plenary speaker. He is currently an associate professor at the Graduate School of Biosphere Science and in Hiroshima University, Japan. He is also the president of the Association of Systematic Biologists of the Philippines. He took up marine biology at the University of San Carlos and joined the teaching staff thereafter. At the University of San Carlos, he was able to get a research fellowship grant where he spent a year studying the seaweed flora of the Cuyo Island in Palawan. And this is under the National Museum of the Natural History, the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. He pursued his MA or PhD in the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and he studied the morphological and genetic diversity of red seaweed, including the new species that he and his professor discovered and named Gracilopsis carolinensis. This is from the southeastern United States and had the opportunity to explore the reef of the Florida Keys on several occasions. His most engaging involvement was in cave research on a joint project with the Raffles Museum of Biodiversity Research at the National University of Singapore, which surveyed the rich aquatic fauna of Bohol and Panglao, Anchalian caves. Among the several new discoveries of cave crustaceans, a new endemic species of cardinal shrimp named after him, Cardinia Liao. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Dr. Lawrence M. Liao.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction. Certainly did not deserve all of that. Anyway, I'd like to thank the organizers, not only thanking but congratulating the organizers for this wonderful event. I think for me it's a dream come true, having been involved with the Natural History Museum community in the Philippines for the last 30 years. And on that basis, I'm standing here before you to talk about my current topic on bridging gaps between natural history players and stakeholders. So let me start by going to first slide. Okay, so I would like to throw this question to the audience and say that, is there an identity crisis among natural history players in the Philippines? This is, some people, we need to clarify this one as we go along. First of all, I would like to show that as already expounded by previous speakers, natural history players could range from school projects, that's natural history collection. If you have a project assigned by your teacher, you are actually starting a natural history collection, to as big as full-blown national, international institutions vested with education, vested with research, vested with all these different mandates. So there is clearly a need to define their roles and responsibilities for them, for us here, to relate to our clientele, so to speak, stakeholders, community at large, especially those who are supported by taxpayers' money. In Japan, they are so conscious about this. When we get some kind of grant, we are always reminded that you are getting money from the taxpayers and you are held accountable for all of this. So the question goes back to us, are we, as members of government institutions, accountable for these taxpayers? Likewise, direct community support is very important. Logistical, non-tax support, people with endowments, agencies giving grants, donations, also very, very crucial. And this is only possible with a very well-defined relationship between the two parties. In this presentation, I will touch a little bit about philanthropy and volunteerism, which are emerging fields in the Philippines. Quite opposite in Western countries, they're much more well-established philanthropy sector. Okay? This is something that I'd like to show to you that we can tap this as one of our means of support. So who are the perceived stakeholders? Okay, I think we know that. Okay, community at large. I already mentioned this. So we are natural history museums because of the community, students, families, tourists. They come to the natural history museums or museums in general for educational and leisure. Okay, we know that. Governments, as I've said, they are supporting museums in general, especially the state-run museums. And the information generated in these museums will help in governance, planning, policy formulation, and legislation. Natural history museums themselves are stakeholders. Greater cooperation, I'll talk more about that, information sharing. And if I may add, funding agencies are also stakeholders. Even biopirates are stakeholders. Okay? So you can say that the whole range, this whole spectrum are potential or already real stakeholders. So in all of these above, there are many gaps and much work to do in case of these different institutions. And I will give some examples as the time allows. Okay, so in the Philippines, natural history museums are made more popular by the local conservation movement. There are many NGOs, there are many organizations that cater to the study and research conservation of the rich Philippine biodiversity. Okay. And because of their actions, the people, the general public, know more about Philippine eagle, Nephenthis. When this was discovered and published, it was headlined as the species that could devour a rat. So this one made waves around the news wires. Rafflesia, the Rafflesia is all over the place, and we are becoming known as the center of the Rafflesia diversity. And then coral triangle. So these are things that have become household words in the recent past. Ken Carpenter and Vic Springer came up with a paper saying like Philippines is the center of the marine shore fish biodiversity. Again, that put us in the map. Another example, J.C. Mendoza of NUS described the species early this year. Harry Plax Cerberus, named after Harry Potter. And this one also hit the wire. So this is one way by which we can make our work more engaging to the general public. I had a classmate before in graduate school, and he sequenced this species of fern. And the sequence, there's a special region that has very rich guanine and adenine. So there's a lot of A, G, A, G, A, G, A, G, A, G. So he named the species after Lady Gaga, G-A-G-A. And that also hit the headlines. So it was good. I mean, we can turn our work into something interesting, something very engaging. Okay, so going back, okay, rich biodiversity of the Philippines highlighted in various scales. We talk about museums and zoos, often side by side with exotic species. But there are some common challenges and gaps, and I don't want to address each one lengthily, but just go through them. Displays poorly organized, specimens improperly preserved. These are many issues that's dogging us. Hazards under tropical environment, general lack of financial support. Okay, so these are very, very obvious. Apathy, I don't know about that. I had a friend who is not only one, but several friends, and sabi nila, I cannot do research because wala akong funding. Sabi naman ng funding agency, I cannot give you money because you don't have a record. You don't have a track record. So, ganon, stalemate. Sabi ko, hindi pwede yan. You have to do something. Ikaw, humingi ka ng pera. You shoulder the burden of showing that you can do it. Hindi ka maghihintay na, wala. Tsaka pa ako magre-research pag may pera, pag may funding. So, naka-lock in, naka-gridlock. So, sorry about that. So, museums goes back in time. This is just a snapshot of Natural History Museum in New York 100 years ago. And see how museums have evolved already. Young children coming to museums. Even in the crisis of the North Korea missile, this is a picture of the Pyongyang Natural History Museum. Everybody loves a museum. No, I have never heard of anyone going to the museum and saying, no, I don't want to go to the museum. Everybody loves museum. So, one of the major turning points of museum is its transition from a totally no-touch, like this, to a totally touch museum. So, this has revolutionized the museum experience and enhance greater sensory involvement and stuff like that. I wish we could also shift towards that. In Hiroshima, we have a museum that commemorates atomic bomb. And the first thing that you think that, these are all many objects and maybe full of radiation. No! There's a section there that said, please touch. Touch, they are not dangerous. Please touch. So we can also do something like this. Parataxonomy. This is another way to involve our people. Okay, we're talking about stakeholders. You've heard of parataxonomy. ASBP sponsored. We had a speaker about parataxonomy. What's parataxonomy? It's similar to paralegal, paramedics. These are not full-fledged people. They're not fully trained. They're less qualified, but nevertheless competent. Trained on the skills of ethics of a professional minus the long years of university and graduate study. And these are mainly parataxonomists are look at people look at parataxonomy, paralegal, paramedic as like some kind of hobby. Band-aid solution, perhaps to address the dearth, the lack of taxonomists. Perhaps this is one way we could have a greater community involvement, making taxonomy more user-friendly. And as many people has this misconception that taxonomists, just like any other scientists, live in the ivory tower. Let's come down from the ivory tower. Let's bring taxonomy to the lower, to the greater number of people, and potential for scientific contribution. This is a project in Japan, and we are involved in this a little bit, and we try to utilize citizen science, and we distributed these cards, and it was a project of Kuroshio Current. So from Bicol region up to northern Luzon and Taiwan and Okinawa, we tried to survey some indicator species. So we came up with this card. I'm sorry it's not so clear, but these are pictures of key species that we want to use as indicator, and we translated it to Chinese, Japanese, and Filipino, and telling them what to do in case you do this, and there's a website in which they can report the information, and we give them some kind of reward. Okay? Not monetary reward, we send them some cookies or something. Citizen science for you. Also, the production of products, taxonomic products, that can connect natural history to stakeholders. Postcards, I believe some of you are producing this, postcards and field guides. Okay, I want to draw your attention to this one here. This is part of the series of very successful field guides, pocket-sized field guides produced in Singapore. And right now they are already almost 50 volumes. Guide to flowers, guide to reptiles, guide to domestic animals, guide to everything. And if you look, this is one opportunity it is sponsored by a company called BP, British Petroleum. So British Petroleum has been a partner in the production of these books here. And if you see here at the back, there's like a commitment of BP Petroleum towards the environment. So this is one form of what I call CSR. CSR is another way by which we could involve companies. We know corporate social responsibility, CSR. So there is a statement here. And what is also interesting is that, not so clear, but there's a price tag here. It's 5 Singapore dollars, which is what? Half an hour wage in Singapore. So it's very, very accessible. So you can buy these guides in bookstores and popular shops, in museum shops, in the botanical garden, everything. So it really brings science, natural history to the people, to the masses. We can also do this with the support of companies, hopefully. In the Philippines, we do have CSR as well. It's emerging, as I've said, but I think we could even expand this even more. And CSR is an environmentally concerned. CSR is an emerging concern in the Philippines. Natural history players like us here, we can tap. There are so many companies, so many entities which are just waiting for the right proposal. Money is waiting because we know CSR. CSR makes them look good. CSR gives tax incentive to these companies. CSR is kind of a win-win situation for everyone. Okay? So they want to enhance their corporate image. So in this case, CSR is, this is EDC. It's one of our sponsors here. And several companies are already sponsoring this event. So this is already CSR. But we can do even more. And I think that this is quite possible. Okay? We should not depend on the idea that money will just come down. No. Okay? Knock and you shall be open. Seek and you shall find. If you don't knock, if you don't seek, you will never find. You will never find. So we have to ask. I know some companies, one or two, they ask me, do you have any viable project that we can do for CSR? I'm in Japan, I'm so far away. Why don't you ask people in the Philippines? They might have some projects. They are waiting for your proposals. Government agencies are also stakeholders for natural history museum. Okay, like for example, the postal service, they produce stamps and they feature flora and fauna, and they use scientific names and so forth and so on. But in some cases, however, look at this. This is one of the famous boo-boo of the postal service. Look at this wrong spelling of the genus. Wrong spelling of the genus again here. So I don't know what went wrong. The person has to consult the Natural History Museum, just slept on this job or whatever. And look at this. The different authors' name. They're all in parentheses. It's a mistake because there is a lack of understanding and appreciation of author's name in parentheses and not in parentheses. We all know the difference, right? But then the guy in the post office says, "Oh, everything's parentheses." Everything's parentheses. Okay, so this is one. Postal Service. Central Bank. They have also a lot of boo-boo in Central Bank. Okay, I think we know that. And here is a wrong spelling here. Okay, B-H-A-G-A. Here they corrected it, P-H-A-G-A. And I heard from my friend, a coin collector, said, "Oh, this one is worth 1 peso now." I said, "Oh, from 50 centimo it went to 1 peso." And then, because it's a collector item. And then here, you can see, there is also a mistake here. Okay. Then, the most famous mistake. Yeah. Oops. Okay. It's a continuing embarrassment. Had this happened in another country, all of this money will be withdrawn and changed with the correct names or the correct way of writing names. This reflects the way how taxonomy, natural history museums are perceived in this country. Okay. So the errors are allowed to stay to this day. They're producing more errors, more. I mean, for the ordinary person, I don't care. But for taxonomists like us, we seek accuracy, precision. This is, I think, slap in the face. And it's going on. So where's the voice of taxonomists and natural history names? This is my question. Natural history museums include also minerals, as many of you know. And today, this is, I mean, mining companies are so unpopular nowadays. When you put up a museum like this, maybe there is a way to some kind of redeem one's name. Okay? I know one project in Cebu, the Carmen Copper Mining Company, they just opened a museum and everybody gets in and all the community children go in and understand what the mining is all about, how it benefits the community. So this is another form of CSR in this time of controversies with a mining company. Don't you think so? Okay. Okay. So natural history museum players are stakeholders themselves, as I've said earlier. And we need to strengthen our community relations as a key factor in defining success. So science journalism takes its important role. Okay? We know the problem. Scientists usually cannot write. Journalists usually cannot understand science. This is the problem. So we need to maybe strengthen our curriculum in science journalism. Outreach programs are also very important. Free information and exchange. Okay, I think Dr. Akwang this morning said it succinctly by saying, like, Even within UPLB, we didn't know that there is a veterinary collection somewhere there. Okay, within the UPLB community, there's that problem, as acknowledged by her. How much more for the entire archipelago of 7,000 islands? We need to have increased communications and cooperation. And this is, well, because we are Filipinos, we have cultural, social-cultural barriers that are sometimes very hard to overcome, preventing us from performing collaborative work. So we have to set them aside and look at the common goal of serving our science. Forum. That's why I commend the organizers for this one. When I first heard about this CLADES Summit, I thought, this is it. This is the right step. This is what we need. We have to come together. Okay, we are here now, but I still see some missing key people, key institutions. We need to have a forum for resource sharing, manpower, infrastructure development, sharing good practices, which we're doing. In ASBP, we started this one to a certain extent. I thought that ASBP could be an organization that could champion the cause of natural history museums in the absence of a formal body that will look after it. Because ASBP, as we know, deals with taxonomy, and side by side, natural history museums are part of the package. But that area has not been addressed very well. Professionalizing and promotion of natural history museology. Formal programs towards accreditation of institutions. The question that immediately comes to our mind, who are going to make the accreditation? Who are going to police ourselves? But we can discuss that. Licensing of practitioners. UPLB course, the Bio 192 is pretty good. Okay, that's a good start. And I heard in San Carlos, they have a museums and archives course, but this is geared towards the fine arts. That's a good start. I want to show you that in Japan, you need a license to become a curator. There is a national examination, and you need to have a diploma. So this is just taken from the homepage of one university, Rikyu University. It's called a curator's course. So the professionals are on par with teachers, librarians, and other professionals. They have to go through civil service examination. I have some students who indicated their desire to become museum professionals early on in their career, so we steer them towards that direction. So perhaps something like this could be done in our country. So the current situation of our natural history players, I can compare it to a poker table. Why? Okay, this is why. We face a common agenda. Now, what's a common agenda in the poker table? To win the poker game. We employ different strategies and practices. Okay? We are a poker table. But we lack communication links. Each poker table player will not share a card. It's a poker game. So lacking the communication links to tackle common agenda and cooperation. Okay, this is sad reality, but this is the reality. So, poker face attitude. Everybody, many of us, okay, huwag magalit na natamaan. Poker face attitude tayo. Indifference, meron tayong indifference. Okay? And we have, I dare to suggest that we have a leadership vacuum. There's hardly any natural history community to speak of. Ano tayo? Barangay tayo. We need to really go. And to think that the solution is there, the solution is there. All we do is just connect the dots. Tayo nandito. Connect the dots tayo. We can get the whole picture. Thank you very much.